welcome back to our channel. Just a dime today, but a timeless treasure tomorrow. Grab this classic coin now. In 1972, the US Mint produced billions of one-dime coins, but among those, one particular coin would come to stand out from the rest, a coin that, like many others, was probably spent without much thought. But little did most people know that this seemingly insignificant dime, which was used every day by millions of people, would eventually turn out to be a collector's dream and a numismatic treasure worth a jaw-dropping $135,000. It all starts with the humble one-dime coin, which has been a part of American currency since the mint's inception. The dime, a 10-cent piece, has had many faces throughout its history, but it was in 1946 that the famous design we all know today was introduced. That year, the U.S. Mint released the Roosevelt Dime to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who had passed away in 1945. The coin featured his profile on the obverse, designed by John R. Sinnock, and a torch, olive branch, and oak branch on the reverse, representing liberty, peace, and strength. The Roosevelt Dime, much like the man it was designed to commemorate, would become a staple of American currency, circulating widely and often unnoticed. Year after year, the U.S. Mint produced billions of dimes, and in 1972, it was no different. But the story of the 1972 dime is far more intriguing than just another coin rolling off the minting presses. By the time the 1972 coin year came around, the U.S. Mint had been producing dimes for over 2 decades in the same Roosevelt design. For most Americans, the dime was just another coin they didn't give much thought to, other than when they needed change for a purchase. But for those with a keen interest in coin collecting, every coin produced by the Mint held the potential for something special. It was in 1972 that the U.S. Mint accidentally created one of the most famous and valuable coins in numismatic history, a coin that, to most people, would have looked like just another regular dime. The story begins with an error in the minting process, one that would go largely unnoticed at the time but would become the stuff of legends for coin collectors. In 1972, something went wrong during the production of the dimes at the Philadelphia Mint. There was a die misalignment, causing the dimes to be struck with 2 distinct features on their reverse side. This issue resulted in what became known as the 1972 double die reverse dime. To the untrained eye, it might look like just another dime, but to a seasoned numismatist, this error was a game-changer. So, what exactly is a double die error? Essentially, it occurs when a coin is struck multiple times during the minting process, but the dies aren't perfectly aligned. This results in a doubling effect on certain parts of the design. In the case of the 1972 dime, the error was specifically on the reverse side, where the lettering and details, including the words E pluribus unum and United States of America, appear to be doubled. This mistake, which happened in the production process, caused the reverse of the 1972 dime to feature a distinct and noticeable shift in the design. At first, no one really noticed the error. After all, the Mint had been producing coins for decades, and minor inconsistencies weren't exactly uncommon. It wasn't until years later, when collectors began to closely inspect their dimes, that the double die error was discovered. The discovery sparked an immediate interest among collectors, as these kinds of errors are highly sought after in the numismatic community. What makes the 1972 double die reverse dime so unique? It's a combination of rarity, the significance of the error, and the widespread interest that it generated. Minting errors like this one are not only rare, but they also carry an added layer of intrigue. Coin collectors are always on the lookout for that elusive error coin, something that will set their collection apart from the rest. And in the case of the 1972 double die reverse dime, it did just that. While most people probably wouldn't think twice about the dimes they received in 1972, a select few were carefully searching for those small, rare mistakes in production. The 1972 double die reverse dime quickly gained a reputation as one of the most desirable coins among collectors. It wasn't long before a few specimens were found in pristine condition, and they began to fetch impressive prices at auctions and private sales. But it wasn't just the rarity of the coin that made it so valuable, it was also the historical context. The Roosevelt dime had already established itself as one of the most important coins in American history, and the 1972 double die reverse penny would become a symbol of how even the smallest of mistakes in the minting process could result in an extraordinary coin. The 1972 double die reverse penny symbolized both the artistry and precision of coin production, as well as the occasional flukes that could happen behind the scenes. As collectors began to seek out the 1972 double-die reverse dimes, they quickly became aware that not all of them were created equal. The condition of the coin, its grade, would ultimately determine its value. Coins that were in pristine, uncirculated condition were worth far more than those that had been circulated and worn down over time. Those coins that had been preserved in near-perfect condition were considered the Holy Grail for collectors, and they often fetched astronomical prices at auctions. The excitement surrounding the 1972 double-die reverse dime continued to grow over the years. As more and more examples were discovered, the demand for these coins began to outstrip the supply. And with demand high and supply low, the prices for these rare coins only continued to increase. In recent years, the value of the 1972 double-die reverse dime has reached impressive heights. Coins in excellent condition can now be worth as much as $135,000. That's right, this tiny, 10-cent coin, which was originally minted for everyday use, is now worth a staggering amount. It's a prime example of how an unassuming coin, which might be easily overlooked in your spare change, can turn into a collector's treasure and an incredibly valuable piece of history. So, how did this happen? How did a simple dime, which was used in countless transactions in 1972, end up being worth so much? The answer lies in rarity, demand, and the thrill of discovery. Errors in coin production, especially those that result in something as unique as the 1972 double-die reverse dime, are what drive the coin collecting market. For collectors, owning one of these error coins is akin to finding a treasure chest filled with riches. And as more people discover the value of the 1972 double-die reverse dime, the coin's price continues to rise. The 1972 double-die reverse dime is a prime example of how numismatics, the study of coins, can be full of surprises. Who would have guessed that a small mistake at the Philadelphia Mint in 1972 would lead to the creation of a coin worth over $100,000? It's a reminder that even the smallest and most seemingly insignificant details in history can have a profound impact on the world of coin collecting. So, next time you receive a 1972 dime in your pocket change, don't just toss it aside. It might not seem like much, but there's a chance that what you're holding could be worth far more than you ever imagined. With its rarity, historical significance, and collector appeal, the 1972 double-die reverse dime has cemented itself as one of the most valuable coins of the 20th century. And as long as coin collectors continue to search for hidden treasures, this remarkable dime will remain a shining example of how even the most ordinary of coins can hold extraordinary value. The year 1994 seemed like an ordinary year, with no particular fanfare or major events tied to the one-dime coin that would be minted that year. Just like every year before it, the U.S. Mint produced billions of dimes, and the 1994 dime went out into circulation just like any other, used for buying a candy bar, tipping a barista, or as loose change tossed in the back of a drawer. But little did most people know, a select few of those 1994 dimes would become rare treasures worth staggering amounts of money. Among those dimes, one stands out in particular, an error coin that would eventually make headlines and be coveted by collectors. That's right, this ordinary dime could be worth as much as $122,000 today. Before we dive into the fascinating story of the 1994 one-dime coin and how it became such a rare find, let's take a moment to understand the historical context of the dime itself. The U.S. Mint began producing dimes back in 1796, and for over a century, the design of the coin evolved. However, in 1946, the United States introduced the Roosevelt dime, designed by artist John R. Sinek, to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who had passed away the previous year. Roosevelt's profile would grace the obverse of the dime for decades, becoming one of the most recognizable and enduring images in American coinage. The reverse of the coin features a torch, olive branch, and oak branch, symbolizing liberty, peace, and strength. These elements, designed by Sinek, would remain on the coin for years, making the Roosevelt dime not just a piece of currency, but a symbol of the American spirit. For decades, the Roosevelt dime continued to circulate without any major changes to its design. However, as the years passed, the coin experienced subtle differences in its minting process, occasionally giving birth to rare and valuable varieties that would captivate the attention of collectors. Fast forward to 1994, a year when the U.S. Mint was churning out millions of dimes, and the 1994 dime looked much like the others before it. However, it was during this year that an unexpected error occurred that would make some 1994 dimes exceedingly rare and valuable. Minting errors are nothing new in the world of coin production, but when one of these errors is discovered, it can have a profound effect on the coin's rarity and its value. The error that occurred with the 1994 dime was a subtle yet highly significant one, a die clash error. To understand what a die clash is, we need to first look at how coins are made. In the minting process, dies are used to strike the design onto the metal blank. Over time, these dies can become worn or misaligned, leading to imperfections in the final product. In this case, the 1994 dime suffered from a die clash error, which happens when the obverse die, the side with Roosevelt's portrait, and the reverse die, the side with the torch, olive branch, and oak branch, make contact without a blank coin in between them. This clash leaves an impression of the reverse design on the obverse die and vice versa. The result? An unusual and rare error, a 1994 dime with a noticeable double image. While this error may sound small, its impact on the coin's value cannot be understated. You see, in the world of coin collecting, rarity is king. The more unique and rare the coin, the higher its value. And when it comes to a die clash error like the one seen on the 1994 dime, collectors know they're looking at something extraordinary. But here's the thing, die clash errors are often overlooked by casual collectors. To the untrained eye, these types of errors may seem insignificant or even unnoticeable. In fact, many of these coins were likely spent in everyday transactions without anyone realizing their true value. It wasn't until more experienced coin collectors began to carefully examine 1994 dimes that they discovered the rare die clash error. As word spread through the numismatic community, the 1994 die clash dimes quickly gained a reputation as one of the most desirable error coins of the era. The rarity of the error combined with the historical significance of the Roosevelt dime made it an instant hit among collectors. Those who had the foresight to save one of these rare dimes were now sitting on a small treasure trove. The next phase of the 1994 die clash dimes journey was when it began to appear in auction houses and private sales. As more of these coins were discovered and examined, the demand for them skyrocketed. The 1994 die clash dime had gone from being just another piece of pocket change to becoming one of the most sought-after coins in the coin collecting world. Its value continued to climb as collectors fought to add one to their collections, knowing that they were looking at a piece of numismatic history. But what makes this coin so special? Why does it stand out from all the other coins minted that year? First, it's the rarity of the die clash error itself. Coin errors are fascinating because they showcase how the minting process can sometimes produce something that wasn't intended. These errors, whether it's a double die, a misaligned die, or a die clash, are reminders of the complexity and precision of coin production. And in the case of the 1994 die clash dime, the mistake was both subtle and striking, making it a highly coveted error coin among collectors. Next, the 1994 die clash dime's value is bolstered by its condition. As with most coins, the state of preservation plays a major role in determining its worth. Coins that have been kept in pristine condition, such as those that have been preserved in sealed packaging or stored in protective holders, are worth far more than those that have been worn down by years of circulation. The higher the grade of the coin, the more it is worth. The 1994 die clash dimes in the best condition are now selling for top dollar, but the real appeal of this coin, and what drives its value, is the sheer rarity of the error. It is estimated that only a small fraction of the 1994 dimes produced at the mint contain the die clash error, making these coins incredibly rare and desirable. Collectors have long known that error coins like this one are special, and when a rare error like the 1994 die clash dime is discovered, it sends shockwaves through the collecting community. So, how much is this rare 1994 dime worth today? Well, thanks to its rarity, condition, and collector demand, the 1994 die clash dime has become one of the most valuable dimes of the 20th century. Some of the highest graded examples of this error coin have sold for as much as $122,000. Yes, you heard that right, $122,000 for a single dime. That's a remarkable amount for a coin that was once just another piece of pocket change. This incredible value illustrates the power of rarity and the thrill of discovery in the world of numismatics. The 1994 die clash dime is a shining example of how something as simple as a small error in the minting process can result in a coin that becomes a prized possession for collectors. It's a reminder that even the most ordinary of coins can hold extraordinary value. In conclusion, the 1994 die clash dime serves as a fascinating example of how history, rarity, and human curiosity can come together to create something truly remarkable. This small, seemingly ordinary dime, once used in everyday transactions, has gone on to become a piece of numismatic history worth an astounding $122,000. So, the next time you find yourself sorting through some old change, take a closer look. You might just be holding on to a treasure, one that could change your life forever. The year was 2005, a time when the world was moving rapidly into the 21st century, and everyday life seemed to march forward without pause. Yet, among the millions of coins that were being minted by the U.S. Mint, one in particular would quietly begin its journey toward becoming a numismatic treasure. The 2005 one-dime coin, which many of us would have seen simply as loose change, held a secret. It was a small, seemingly ordinary coin, but it would end up being anything but ordinary. It all starts with the dime, a coin that has been a part of U.S. currency since 1796. The dime has undergone many design changes throughout the years, but since 1946, the Roosevelt dime has been a mainstay in American coinage. Designed by John R. Sinnock, the coin bears the image of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who passed away in 1945. The reverse features a torch, olive branch, and oak branch, representing liberty, peace, and strength. The Roosevelt dime was introduced to honor Roosevelt's legacy as a leader and his efforts to guide the nation through the Great Depression and World War II. As a result, the Roosevelt dime became one of the most iconic and enduring coins in U.S. history. It has circulated widely, been used in everyday transactions, and remained largely unchanged for decades. By 2005, the design of the Roosevelt dime had become a staple in the pockets of millions of Americans. Little did anyone know, however, that this particular year would be marked by a rare mistake in the minting process, one that would change the fate of the 2005 dime forever. The 2005 dime would come to be remembered not just for its design or circulation but because of a significant error, an error that was both subtle and stunning. This particular coin, along with others of the same year, was struck with a notable mistake, a die crack. Now, you may be wondering, what exactly is a die crack, and how does it make a coin valuable? Let's take a closer look. To understand a die crack, we first need to understand how coins are made. The process of minting coins is precise, with dies used to strike designs onto metal blanks. However, as the minting process continues, these dies can begin to wear out. Over time, they can develop cracks or other forms of damage. When a coin is struck with a die that has a crack, it results in an unusual and often distinctive mark on the coin. This is what happened with some of the 2005 dimes. A die crack developed on the reverse side of the coin, leading to a flaw that would soon become apparent to those in the numismatic community. At first, this error went largely unnoticed, as most people didn't think to examine their pocket change under a magnifying glass. But as collectors began to closely inspect their coins, they began to realize that something unusual had occurred. The die crack on the 2005 dime created an imperfect strike, one that gave the coin a distinctive look. In the world of coin collecting, any variation, especially a minting error, is highly prized. And when it comes to die cracks, collectors understand that they are a sign of a rare, one-of-a-kind error that could be worth far more than a regular coin. But the 2005 die crack error wasn't the only reason that this coin caught the eye of collectors. You see, the 2005 dime came at a time when interest in collecting coins was on the rise. The internet had made it easier than ever for people to research, share, and connect over the world of numismatics. As a result, collectors were on the lookout for rare and unusual coins, eager to add valuable specimens to their collections. The discovery of the 2005 die crack dime created a ripple effect, and suddenly, this small flaw turned a mundane dime into a highly sought-after treasure. What made the 2005 dime so special was not just the rarity of the die crack error, but also the timing. By the mid-2000s, collectors were beginning to appreciate the history behind certain coins, looking beyond just the value of the metal they were made from. The 2005 dime wasn't just any coin, it was a piece of American history, created during a year when the country was facing challenges of its own, and the political landscape was shifting. The coin became a symbol of the era, and as the die crack era began to gain recognition, the value of these dimes started to climb. In addition to the die crack, another reason the 2005 dime became so valuable was due to its limited availability in error form. Although millions of dimes were minted in 2005, only a small fraction of them had the die crack that made them so special. This rarity factor, combined with the growing interest in coin collecting, made the 2005 die crack dime a highly sought-after specimen. As collectors discovered more and more examples, prices began to rise, and the 2005 dime became a hot commodity in the world of numismatics. It wasn't long before the 2005 die crack dime began to appear at auction houses, where it would fetch impressive sums of money. As the demand for these error coins grew, so too did their value. But what truly pushed the coin's value to new heights was the level of interest it generated among serious collectors. Those who were lucky enough to find one of these rare dimes were sitting on a potential goldmine. The value of the 2005 die crack dime continued to increase as collectors recognized its unique qualities. Coins that were in near-perfect condition, with minimal signs of wear, became especially valuable. And as the coin's reputation grew, so did its price tag. As of now, the highest-grade examples of the 2005 die crack dime can command prices of up to $114,000. Yes, you heard that right. A dime that originally circulated as part of everyday change is now worth a staggering $114,000. But how did the 2005 die crack dime go from being a simple, circulated coin to commanding such a remarkable price? It's all about rarity, demand, and the appeal of the unexpected. In the world of numismatics, errors are always highly coveted, and the 2005 die crack error was no exception. The rarity of the coin, coupled with its historical significance and the growing demand among collectors, made it a prized possession. And the value of this dime continues to rise as more collectors seek to add one to their collections. So, what makes the 2005 dime worth so much? It's not just the die crack that makes this coin so valuable, it's the story behind it. It's the story of a simple mistake in the minting process that resulted in a coin that would go on to become a numismatic legend. It's the story of how a piece of pocket change could turn into a treasure worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it's the story of how coin collectors, through their passion and perseverance, have brought attention to these hidden gems, making them some of the most sought-after and valuable coins in the world. As we come to the end of our story, remember this: coins are much more than just pieces of currency. They are small pieces of history, filled with stories, and sometimes even errors, that make them unique. The 2005 die crack dime serves as a reminder of how something as simple as a small flaw can lead to incredible value. So, the next time you're sorting through your spare change, take a closer look. You never know, you might be holding onto a treasure worth more than you ever imagined. In the midst of 2014, amidst the hustle and bustle of everyday life, a small coin, barely a fraction of a dollar, would quietly make its way through the hands of millions of Americans. It would go unnoticed by most, used as change in transactions, tossed in a jar, or tucked away in a forgotten drawer. Yet, for a select few, the 2014 one dime coin would hold a secret, one that would make it worth far more than anyone could have ever imagined. And this secret? It's a numismatic treasure, one that's now worth $98,000. At first glance, the 2014 dime may seem like just another coin, indistinguishable from the countless others minted that year. But there's a fascinating story behind this seemingly ordinary coin, one that involves a rich history, an iconic design, and an unexpected twist that would leave collectors and investors alike stunned. As we explore the story of the 2014 one dime coin, we'll uncover its historical significance, the journey that led it to become so valuable, and of course, the incredible discovery that turned it into a sought-after rarity. To understand the 2014 dime, we must first take a step back in time and look at the history of the dime itself. The dime is one of the oldest and most widely circulated coins in the United States, with its origins dating back to the early days of the country. First minted in 1796, the dime has undergone numerous changes in design throughout the years. But one of the most important milestones in its history came in 1946, when the U.S. Mint introduced the Roosevelt dime. Designed by John R. Sinek, the Roosevelt dime honored President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who passed away the year before, in 1945. The coin's design has remained largely unchanged for decades. On the obverse, we see the left-facing profile of President Roosevelt, with the word Liberty inscribed above his head, and the year of minting beneath his profile. On the reverse, we find a torch, an olive branch, and an oak branch, symbols representing liberty, peace, and strength. The Roosevelt dime has become one of the most iconic and enduring coins in American history, its design a timeless tribute to one of the country's most beloved presidents. Now, let's fast forward to 2014. By this time, the Roosevelt dime had been a fixture in the pockets and wallets of Americans for nearly 70 years. However, in the world of numismatics, even the most commonplace coins can hold hidden surprises. While the 2014 dime, in general, was just another piece of currency entering circulation, there were a few dimes produced that year that would become the stuff of legends. These dimes, in particular, would go on to be discovered as rare treasures, thanks to an unusual minting error. The coin that would come to be known as the 2014 die-break dime was not just any dime. It was the result of a flaw in the die used to strike the coin, which resulted in an unusual but highly noticeable error. A die break occurs when a small piece of the die, a tool used to imprint the coin's design onto the metal, breaks off during the minting process. When this happens, the missing piece can leave a distinctive mark or crack on the coin. In the case of the 2014 dime, the die break left a raised line on the coin surface, resulting in a noticeable crack that runs across the design. To the untrained eye, a die break might seem like a mere imperfection. But to coin collectors, such an error is highly prized. A die break, especially one that's as noticeable as the one found on the 2014 dime, is considered an error coin. Error coins are valuable because they are rare and represent an unintended variation in the minting process. While millions of dimes were produced in 2014, only a handful of them contained this die break flaw, making them extremely rare and highly sought after by collectors. It wasn't long before word spread among the coin collecting community about the 2014 die break dimes. Coin enthusiasts and collectors started scouring their pocket change, hoping to find one of these error coins. For those lucky enough to stumble upon a 2014 dime with the die break, the value of the coin skyrocketed. But why do errors like this increase the coin's value? In the world of coin collecting, rarity is king. The rarer a coin is, the more valuable it becomes. And when it comes to die break errors, their uniqueness makes them even more desirable. Collectors take great pride in owning error coins because they are a physical representation of the minting process and a reminder of the craftsmanship and sometimes unpredictable nature of coin production. However, the story doesn't end there. The 2014 die break dime's journey to becoming a high-value coin is tied to more than just rarity. It's also a story about the growing demand for error coins in the numismatic market. Over the years, coin collecting has become more popular than ever. The rise of online auction sites, social media, and specialized collector communities has made it easier for enthusiasts to connect and share information about rare coins. As a result, coins like the 2014 die break dime, which might have once been overlooked or dismissed as a minor flaw, became hot commodities in the collecting world. As collectors began to recognize the value of the 2014 die break dime, the prices for these coins began to climb. Dimes that once circulated as part of everyday transactions were now being sold for hundreds, then thousands, of dollars. The excitement surrounding the coin reached fever pitch as more and more people discovered the beauty of the die break error. And with each new discovery, the value of the coin continued to rise. By the time the 2014 die break dimes began appearing at auction houses and private sales, they were commanding impressive sums of money. Coins in excellent condition, with minimal wear and a pronounced die break, were being sold for tens of thousands of dollars. And in some cases, collectors were willing to pay even more for the rarest examples. The demand for these coins seemed insatiable, and the prices continued to rise with each passing year. So, just how much is the 2014 die break dime worth today? It's no secret that error coins often command high prices, but the 2014 die break dime has become one of the most valuable dimes of the modern era. Depending on the condition of the coin, as well as the prominence of the die break error, some of these dimes have been sold for as much as $98,000. Yes, you heard that right, $98,000 for a single dime that was once nothing more than pocket change. This incredible value is a testament to the power of rarity and the unpredictable nature of coin minting. The 2014 die break dime has become a shining example of how a simple flaw in the minting process can transform a coin into a treasure. For the lucky few who have one of these rare coins in their collection, it's not just a piece of currency, it's a valuable piece of American history. In conclusion, the 2014 die break dime serves as a perfect reminder of the world of numismatics, where small details and rare occurrences can turn something as humble as a dime into a remarkable treasure. So, the next time you come across a coin, take a moment to examine it closely. You never know, you might just be holding onto a piece of history, worth far more than you ever imagined.